wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL The Betting Blitz, Week 17. It is Sunday morning after Christmas, before New Year's. It is the 28th of December, 2025, the final Sunday of this calendar year. Mike, I can't believe we're here. You know, earlier this year, I was doing a bunch of stuff. I never thought I'd be here, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. We got 10 games on the card today. We see you guys in the chat. Get live with us. Mike, what's going on, brother?
Fired up, man. We got a great Sunday card of football. Some games have been eliminated. Some guys are playing for player incentives. But the hottest show in the NFL is here with you guys. I got the Shark with me, and we have been cashing tickets. We can't wait to talk to you guys about the card today.
Yeah, 6-2 last week. Obviously, a lot of games played already this week. 3 real kind of divisional duds on Christmas. Obviously, the league, I think, thought that was going to be a showcase day. Not so much. And, of course, yesterday, 2 real interesting games. Obviously, the Ravens late night taking care of business to prolong their season, and the Texans showing up in LA. And that is really kind of the conversational aspect of today's card. Which teams care for the playoffs? Who doesn't? And also, which players need to show out for incentives and contracts, obviously getting paid more with their preseason incentives. But a lot going on here. We got 10 games on the card. If you guys are in the chat, we see a bunch of you guys in here. West Coast, get up, get your coffee. East Coast people I know are super live on a Suddenly Not So Casual Sunday. And let's talk some business. First game on the card, Seahawks-Panthers in Carolina. Very interesting game here. This is not one of the games where neither team cares. Panthers coming off a huge win last week against Tampa Bay. Have Tampa Bay again next week. Seattle off a big win, albeit maybe mini bye. Thursday Night Football going back about 10 days ago, traveling east. Seahawks have been absolutely fantastic on the road. Carolina's been great at home. Mike, which side did you find in this one?
Yeah, we got ourselves an interesting battle right now. Right now, this very second, right this second, Shark. The line just went from +7 down to +6.5 here. 61% of the bets, 51% of the cash are on the Panthers. It just came down from 7 to 6.5. That is breaking news as it gets. This total at 43.5 has dropped to 42.5. You have 60% of the bets and 73% of the cash on the over. Yet we're not seeing the correlated movement in the marketplace out there. And I am not buying this Seahawks team right now. Listen, some interesting movement out there. They were down 16 points. It took tremendous ref screwery last week to get these guys to pull out that victory. In fact, we laughed because we were live on this thing and talked about Sam Darnold had, after his second interception, he had like a 2% chance of winning the game. And yet that's exactly what happened. And again, it was help from the referees out there to get there. I'm not sure if I buy that here. And look, they just beat the Colts barely before that with 100-year-old Phillip Rivers out there for the first time in 5 years. You look back and who have they played? They played the Vikings. They played the Falcons. They played the Titans. They played the Cardinals. They played the Commanders. That's not it. I'm not into this team here. And I'll tell you what. Yeah, you can look at the Sam Darnold spots off of wins, but bottom line, home dogs on short rest against the rest of the team are 13-4. Home dogs, sitting in this situation with, the Carolina Panthers. Spread, dog, NFC opponents, they are 12-2. I'm taking the +7. Really like this spot to take this Carolina Panthers, but I feel like we're going to be on differing sides to open this card up. What are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, it seems to be kind of a trend. I'm not entirely sure why. Actually, for years, it seems like whenever I open a show, the first game is a bit of a disruption point. But I like the Seahawks in this game. And truthfully, I think it's a great spot to sell Carolina. I think Carolina finds themselves in a terrible calendar spot. You just beat the Bucs. We were talking about it last week. We gave you guys Carolina as an alignment play. And we told you guys they hadn't beaten the Bucs in years. The media was all over it. They said Baker owns Bryce Young. He owns the Panthers. It's revenge against his old team, all this nonsense. We saw through it, and we said, take Carolina. Well, guess what? Carolina has to go to Tampa Bay next week to finish the season in what most likely will be a bit of a championship game for this division. So if you drew this up going back to August and you said Carolina is somehow relevant and they are actually above 500, and they catch Seattle in between 2 games to finish the season against Tampa. One word, trap. Another one, sandwich. And I do think this is where Carolina could struggle. And interestingly enough, Carolina this year has only 2 home losses. They've won every other home game. So they either win outright or lose and non-cover. Key point, both by 10 plus points. Lost by 10 against New Orleans, and the only time this year they were graded at +7 at home, they did lose to Buffalo by 31 points. And as I mentioned, Seattle has been absolutely elite on the road. I'm not entirely sure why it is. Obviously, their coach used to coach on this coast for the Ravens. Sam Darnold has bounced around and has obviously played professionally for teams on Eastern time. But Seattle this year is 5-0 straight up, road outside of the division, 4-1 against the spread, average margin of victory by 16 points. And the only time they played a game at the NFC South, a couple weeks ago, week 14, I actually did give you guys Seattle -6.5, basically the same line at Atlanta, 37-9. Little disagreement here to start. This is a great spot for the chat to fire off. Who covers? Seattle or Carolina? The Shark or Mikey Money? We got a big competition in this game and keeping it moving. Next game on the card, Jags-Colts divisional football in Indianapolis, 1 o'clock. Unfortunate stuff here from a viewing perspective to a certain degree. Obviously, we thought this going back a few weeks ago would be really more or less a championship type of game in this division. Now, not so much. Daniel Jones hurt, Phillip Rivers in. Colts officially eliminated last night when the Texans got that road win at the Chargers. This seems to be a Jaguars spot. The Jags have found something. Liam Cohen is far more effective than I was expecting. I was watching one of the press conferences last week. It seemed like he really has a great camaraderie in the locker room. I don't think they're overlooking this opponent. They did dominate the Colts at home by, I believe, close to 19 points, 36-19, 17 points. Mike, I believe we allowed on this one looking towards the Colts, or excuse me, the Jags.
Yeah, listen, 73% of the bets, only 56% of the cash, though, when it comes down to the money and the cash flow splits on this Jaguar side of things. They did move from +1.5 to -5s. We did see 5.5, so started to come back down a little bit as we get closer to game time. But, I guess what are you looking at with this game here? You thinking it's a revenge opportunity? Well, Shark, you talked about this with me backstage. The revenge element of this thing is really not in the equation here because it was Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones, Danny the Glass, the Glass Menagerie here. That was in that game that previous time out. So since then, what have we seen? Well, I guess we haven't really seen too much. We saw a 2-point loss. We saw a beatdown against the 49ers. To be expected. You're bringing in a 100-year-old man. You're putting him out there against a team that's fired up trying to win the NFC. Totals moved from 45.5 to 48.5. You have 63% of the bets. You have 72% of the cash on the over when it comes down to this one here. And, look, road favorites. After the last game went over the total are 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 6 straight games. I'm not buying this Colts spot here. I don't think I can get there. Favorites on the over after high scoring have gone over. I'm going to go to the over in this game here. I know, listen, on the surface, the Colts ranked 4th overall in DVOA. The Jags ranked 5th. We've talked about the DVOA is probably the most truest metric that you can have when it comes to ranking opponents and in terms of not just strength of schedule, but down in distance, the type of play that they're calling, the success rates they've had, the strength of the opponents that they're playing. It's a hybrid that brings it all together and kind of measures it out for you guys. And these are two very strong teams on the paper, but the Jags moving in a completely different direction than the Colts in this game. I like the over. Give me some points. It also follows suit with the sharp respected betting report there. How they're going to get there, I don't know who's going to put the points on the board, but I like this fact here. I can get 48.5. It's a big number for a reason, and I still think there's enough talent on this Colts team to be able to put some points on the board. What say you, Shark?
Yeah, totally agree here. I also like the over. And, it's interesting. You're talking about the Panthers catching some steam here. It seems like the syndicates have fallen in love with these bad dogs at the early slate because the Colts are catching steam here now. You can actually get 4.5 in the market, crazily enough. But no, this is a Jag spot all day. The Jags need the game. They have more flow, more camaraderie, better coach at the current point in time. And really, I think this Phillip Rivers experiment is nothing more than a movie, really. The guy's 45 years old. He's noticeably out of shape. I mean, we're just being objective here. He looks like he's just hanging out. He's got 10 kids, 11 kids. He wasn't expecting to play. He covered his first game at Seattle. Seattle just kind of didn't take the game seriously. But again, zooming into what the Colts did in that game, only 16 points. They didn't really light the world on fire. Then you come back to his only home game, Monday Night Football, also noticeably short week leading into tonight's game. Just absolutely nothing. 27 points, loose game, kind of a schoolyard type of game. Niners, same line, -5, just a hammer. And truthfully, this is where you're not buying low on the Colts. This is just cliff dive, no motivation. When you get eliminated from the playoffs and you got to play an upstart team like Jacksonville, the Colts have lost 5 straight. This is not where they show up. It's not where they bounce back. This is going to be a fun game for Philip to play. Obviously, he's going to tell his grandkids about this. He'll have 45 of them. But this is the day. Mike was telling me before the show, he was listening to some great country music called I've Been Drinking Again. I said, Philip probably cracked a bottle this morning and said, F it. I get to play NFL football December the 28th. Nothing going on here. Take the Jags and the over, and let's cash. Next game on the card, Saints-Titans in Nashville. Couldn't say we saw this game coming back in August. Couldn't say I saw this coming from Mike's angle either. Mike, did you even really know who Tyler Show was back in August? Now he's your favorite person. You're looking to the road team yet again.
Who would have guessed? We've been showing the dough with this guy here. Saints open up at +3.5. They're now -1.5. So we're seeing some twos creep into the marketplace. 54% of the bets, 47% of the cash. Some of you guys are still not believers in these cash flow splits, but it's a weather vane. It gives us an idea of what's happening in the marketplace, and the public likes this Saints side of things here, not the Titans, but some of the bigger bettors do believe in this Titans at home. Maybe it's because they're catching 2 points. Maybe they think this is a coin flip game. I tend to look on especially when you're in the 1s and 2s, I like to look at the money line. What's happening on the money line here? This thing went from -175 for the Titans. They're now a +110 dog. You have 29% of the bets and 38% of the cash coming in on them Titans. Not me. No way. No how. No, sir. Show me the dough with this thing here. 42.5 have come down to 39.5 in the market. 69% of the bets, 70% of the cash coming in on this over. It's come down. I'm going to buy into that. I think that what happens here is a lot of it comes into, we've talked about motivation. We've talked about, talk about whatever it is you want with this game. The bottom line to me is you fade the Titans off of a win. They had their signature game. They got their victory. They got that kind of monkey off their back, and they're trying to go out there and find a way to, I think, just finish the season off. You're 66-40 if you fade the Titans after a win. You've won 11 straight times. Yeah, the show situation has really been something unique. But the bottom line is New Orleans. Their defense is on fire right now. They're allowing just 4.4 yards a play since week 10. That happens to be the best span of football going right now in the NFL. So you got a strong team. Home games, they played very well. So I get some of that. You look at Bryce Young, Kirk Cousins, Brady Cook, Tua. So not necessarily the strongest of opponents, but I don't consider this Cam Ward side of things to be any kind of a leap and bounds situation. So give me the team that's been playing great defensively behind Tyler Show. Hard to believe, no, Shark. In August, I would not have been guessing I was playing this guy, but we have been making cash with him, so I'm going to stick with him. Give me the Saints. I got the -120.
Yeah, this is a tough game for me. Honestly, I would be looking more towards the total. Obviously, you're talking about the Saints defense being extremely upside, which is a little surprising given the coaching situation, being an offensive coordinator, taking over the head coach position. But in terms of the actual ATS side here, I think it's very difficult. The Titans are actually 5-2 ATS last 7. They're 3-0 ATS last 3 home outside of the division. Same conversation with the Saints. As you mentioned, the Saints are hot. They're 3-0, not only ATS, straight up last 3. They've taken care of business against these bad teams, too. I mean, last week, if there was ever going to be a trap game for the Saints, it would have been last week. They were coming off of back-to-back divisional wins, and they were laying a touchdown to the Jets and just took care of business, 29-6. Again, emphasis on defense. I could see the game going either way. We have seen Ward compete well against a young quarterback situation, road game at Cleveland as a small dog. Mike likes the Saints. Best look in this game for me would be the under at 39.5. I'm getting ahead of myself. I like the over so much in the next game. I had to say over there. Next game on the card, Cardinals at Bengals, 1 o'clock in Cincinnati. Out of conference ball, classic week 17. The game doesn't matter unless you are drinking beers in the parking lot of Paycor Stadium or you're betting this game. There's so much conversation in terms of the betting market publicly. Is it bad for sports? Does it contaminate athletes? Does it make fans too hostile in the crowd? Whatever. Listen, Mike and I love to bet. We love to bring you guys high energy. This is a high energy game because it has no consequence to anything other than cashing a ticket. Mike, we're going to see a schoolyard game. Burrow has nothing to play for. Brissett's going to sling it. The over's the best look. Talk to me.
Yeah, we've got ourselves 67% of the bets, 70% of the cash on the Cincinnati Bengals. And I get it. This Arizona team is banged up offensively. Even questions around their tight end now, their wide receiving core, the running backs are down. I mean, they're just getting battered and tattered. They just can't withstand the strength here or the volatility of an 18-game schedule. And they're starting to show some, repercussions behind it here. Yeah, 7's a lot of points, though, with the Cincinnati Bengals team that, kind of banged up in their own right. A lot of people are looking at this thing saying, well, Joe Burrow's out there, and as long as he's out there, they're going to go and fire around. And I get it. Lots of points right now, 40% of the bets, 54% of the cash on the over. It has moved up 6 points. Correlated movement there with the total and the increase with the cash coming in there. But for me, it's a Cardinal spot. I think that, as crazy as that sounds here, Joe Burrow's not, I guess they're just going to go out there and battle. And if it's going to be a battle and we can see both teams put points on the board, then for me, I want to get involved with the touchdown in my back pocket. Yeah, 3-12 doesn't look pretty for the Cardinals, but the Bengals, if you asked me in August, would the Bengals be 5-10 to get the season going? I would have said no. And bottom line, I look at this thing and I see that, when you come to scoring, you see what these teams are doing out there. The Cardinals, look, they just came off of a 26-19 game against Atlanta. They played a tough spot against Houston. They played the Rams. They had a tough game against Tampa Bay, Jacksonville. They've been playing some really strong teams. So this is definitely a step down in class for these guys. And I think on the other side of things, Miami got skunked. I'm sorry, the Bengals got skunked against Baltimore. After a team gets shut out, they go and they put boot to ass. They did that against Miami here, but I think we have a battle. I think we see scoring, and I like this Arizona Cardinals team to give me the touchdown in my back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, great contrarian side there, and I think the chat likes it. I got Jags says he likes it. David says, good morning, fellas. Bad week, but let's go. Absolutely, you're right. Today is day one of an upward movement point. You got to stay centered in your life. If you want to bet correctly, you cannot live in the past. I'll tell you that. You win or you learn. Let's win. Talking on this game just briefly, jumping off what Mike said, this is going to be just a kind of a replica of what you saw last week in Miami with the Bengals. They're going to just show out, chuck the ball around the yard. Jamar Chase is talking about hitting all his player incentives in his contract. He's like, I haven't had touchdowns in weeks. Throw me the ball. And this Arizona team's not going to play any defense. I mean, Jonathan Gannon comes over here, DC from the Eagles, far cry from a defensive football team at this point in time. And you've already seen Brissett play twice against the AFC on the road this year. Both went over 31-27 at Indianapolis and 40-20 at Houston. That's a Houston team that is not known for overs and explosive scoring. And I have written down here, both teams eliminated. What now? It is just points. This is going to be a huge open scoring game. I can see this game hitting 70 points. Put it on your TV, put a unit on the over, enjoy the game, and let's cash. Next game on the card, going to a home stadium in the AFC North. This one, a divisional game. Steelers-Browns, 1 o'clock in Cleveland. I know the people in Cleveland are live and ready for this game. Cleveland is eliminated, but this is Shedeur Sanders. This is potentially the future of the franchise. And this is a division rival they absolutely hate. Short line, Mike. Can Cleveland get it done?
Yeah, don't tell the Cleveland Browns this game doesn't mean anything. Shedeur Sanders wants that starting position. He's got Deshaun Watson battling next year out there for him. So, look, 2.5 to move to 4.5, 71% of the bets, only 59% of the cash because guess what? Sharp respected betting information came through this morning, and they are on these Cleveland Browns, as am I in this spot here. Potential wrong team favored. You fade Mike Tomlin as a favorite. For some reason, when they're in the dog position, they go out there and they show up. When they're in that favorite position, they get over-calculated. You're 37-22 if you fade this guy. You put the Browns as home dogs against the Steelers, they're 6-0-2. They've won 6 straight games now. That's with a total of less than 4. So that was capped this morning at 3.5 here. But, there's a big thing going on at the end of the season where you talk about kind of are they playing for anything? And they've got these incentives on the line. So teams that are in a dog role that play mid-teams, and the Steelers are very much a mid-team at this point, do find a way to go out there and upset. They do show that, listen, the Browns on the road suck. 6-18 against the spread over a 24-game sample size. That is the worst in the NFL. But you move them back home. And look, you take this DK Metcalf because he was a hammerhead last week. He's out of this game for the final 2 weeks of the season. He'll be suspended. Again, you got offensive line issues. You got Watt issues out there with the rib lung thing that's going on out there. Who's left for Aaron Rodgers to go pick apart down the field? Is he going to give it to Calvin Austin? I don't know. I'm not buying it, though. I'm going to take the 4.5 points in my back pocket here. I think there's too much to play for these Browns, and it's a divisional game. They're going to get up. They're motivated. Give me the 4.5. Let's go Cleveland. Go nuts in this game, man. Let's have a fun game in this one.
Yeah, crazy enough, given the sort of abstract games we're seeing at 1 o'clock here with a lot of teams that have nothing to play for and not a ton of divisional games, if I was actually going to say between you and I, like if we could just take a jet to some stadium for a 1 o'clock game, I would go to Cleveland. I mean, I think this place is going to be absolutely live. It's going to be cold out. It's probably snowing. The booze is flowing. People are going to have a great time at this game. Like, talk about a throwback game. Divisional AFC North, cold December. This is what I live for as a fan, if I'm being perfectly honest. I could absolutely see Cleveland winning this game today. You look at Cleveland at home. As you said, they've been great. They just covered against Buffalo. They beat Green Bay outright. They hammered Miami. They covered against Baltimore. It's a cover team at home. Only 2 non-covers, kind of a cluster in the Shedeur early window here. But as we've detailed numerous times when we talk this team, really just special teams mistakes holding them back. I think they'll be refined here. I think it's a trap for the Steelers. In terms of the total here, it's a low total, but I think to a certain degree, books don't really have a grip on where to put the line involving Shedeur Sanders games, because we saw a really low total against Tennessee, and the game finished with 60 points, 31-29. Same thing last week against Buffalo. It was a low total, 41.5. Buffalo came out explosively, 20 points in the first half, held on late, but anyway, an over. Shedeur is just an explosive player. He plays with pace, high energy. You could see points in this game. So deceivingly low total. I could see more points in this game. Mike, any thoughts on the total on this one?
I'm trying to understand why Shedeur Sanders went so low in the draft, because he's a fun player to watch. He seems like a good guy all around out there. He's done the right thing in the community. Seems to be a leader for the team, even though, listen, things are down, the chips are bad or not looking great with this thing here. But if I had to take a side, I take the under in this game. I think that, when it comes down to it, the personnel on the Steelers side of things, just not where they need to be out there. Now, is there something to play for with the Steelers team? Of course there is, trying to go out there and improve themselves and get that playoff position locked up. But I just think it's probably a defensive situation. It's a tough divisional game. This feels like a 9-3 game to me when it comes down to it. Like, just kind of ugly late season. How many times have we seen in our lives, Shark, Cleveland's playing, the Steelers late in December, and it's a game where you're like, what? 12-6. How'd they even get to that score? It was all field goals. Nobody could find the end zone. So we'll see if that's the case here. But I would lean to the under. If you gave me the proverbial free play and asked me where to put my money on the total, I'd go with the under.
Yeah, I mean, the line certainly does suggest it. The previous game was 23-9, also an under. Dylan Gabriel was the quarterback, road at Pittsburgh. The total there was 38. This is moved down at open to 34.5 steamed. So the books do think an under. I'm only giving thought to the idea that Shedeur is just really kind of all over the place versus the total. So line is an underline, unquestionably. Shedeur is just open season. But nothing official for me. Mike likes plus 3.5. Next game of the card, another divisional game here. Pats at Jets, matchup 2 in East Rutherford. Pats beat the Jets at home Thursday Night Football midseason. Push the spread or cover the spread, depending on your line. Some people didn't cover either. They won by 13. It was either 12.5, 13, or 13.5. You're seeing the same line here. Truthfully, this is kind of just your stock line in the division. Obviously, you have a team graded 1 or 2 seed versus a team going absolutely nowhere. This is where Mike likes to live, on the underdog side of these games. Mike, Jets plus 12.5.
You can't lay double digits on the road in a divisional game at the end of the season. It's just not good business out there. And look, there's big 2 divisional games left for this New England Patriots team. They've got this Jets game. Then they host the Dolphins next week to cap off the season. So big win for them last week. We've been really locked in with this Patriots side of things here. We took them against the Giants. We faded them against the Bills. We took them against the Ravens. And I'm going to fade them against these Jets here with the 13.5 points. It's just not a spot that's good business. At the end of the day, teams at this time of the season, you got a 65% winning edge if you just take those points in your back pocket. Now, is it going to be pretty? No. Is it backdoor potential? Yes, because what happens here, if you're looking at this Patriots team, is you're saying, let's just get the hell out of here. Let's not get hurt. And then furthermore, you got to this is probably one of the biggest streaks on the card this week. So, we look at trends, we look at angles, we look at cash flow, we look at splits. They're all weather vanes in terms of which way is the wind blowing here. But home dogs, 3 or more game losing streak late in the season, are 49-16 against the spread. They've won 14 straight times. Home dogs, 3 or more game losing streak late in the season, have won 14 straight times. Dare I say the Jets could be so stupid to go out there and win this game outright, but I'll take the 13.5 points in my back pocket chart.
I can certainly see it. I think it's a coaching game too. I think it's Aaron Glenn. Just what kind of motivation can he bring to his locker room today? Because the Patriots are going to compete. Vrabel's, a great motivator. Drake May's very professional, particularly for a young player. I don't really have anything in this game. I'll defer to my plus 12.5 official. Next game on the card, final game at 1 o'clock. Bucs Dolphins in Miami. Battle of Florida to a certain degree. Maybe not. Not exactly a rivalry here. These teams barely ever play, once every 4 years. Ultimately, this game has developed into something that I didn't think it would for me. I have a top play in this one. While I get my merchandise here, I will throw it to Mike. What do you think about this game?
All right, we got cash coming in on the Buccaneers. 64% of the bets, only 60% of the cash, but still big numbers coming in on the Bucs side of things. It has moved from -1.5 to 5, and it's now or never if you're on the Buccaneers side of things here. Bottom line, they're healthy. They got everybody back and running. Bucky Irving, the squad is up and fired up here. They have had a terrible run. And it seems like I can't get on the right side of Igbuka. I gave you guys a touchdown prop for Igbuka, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. I don't think he scored one since. So surprising to see that situation here. But one team has owned the other. The Bucs are 5-0 against the spread, 9-1 over their last 10. Certainly encompassing multiple seasons against this Florida rival of theirs in the Miami Dolphins. And I just can't imagine here. Yeah, we've got Ewers. Some people say he performed better than his stats last week. I'm just not into it here. 5 points. I think that what I do like in this game, surprisingly enough, is I like points. I think that we see this thing 43.5, 52% of the bets, 54% of the cash would come in on the over. So it's a pretty coin flippy situation, but the totals come down 4 points. It was 47.5. They moved it to 43.5. I think that's too much of a downgrade. I don't think that the Dolphins are much of a downgrade with Tua being out of there and putting Ewers in there, despite the fact that he's a rookie. So I'm going to take the over. Give me the over 43.5 in this game, Trey.
Yeah, as I said, I wasn't expecting this, and I haven't worn this hat this year for good reason. But the buy hat is engaged here, week 17. Take the Bucs at whatever the current line is. I think you can get 5 now. I think the market actually might be steaming Miami as well. Wow, incredible. Beautiful stuff. Yeah, you can get 4.5 now. Bucs minus 4.5. Definitely syndicates team across the entire board on underdogs. So just a point on syndicates. Oftentimes the line movement is not necessarily sharp or this and that. It's just a massive conglomerate of money who just say take the dogs and shift the lines. But speaking on this game, this is really an incredible buy low. The Bucs are 0-7 against the spread last 7. That is incredibly difficult to do for a team that thinks they're a playoff team and is actually still projected to potentially get to the playoffs. But if you really go through this, I think they've just caught a cluster of some of the most difficult teams in the league. 7 non-covers against New England, Buffalo, Rams on the road, Arizona, and 3 consecutive divisional games, all one-possession losses, 24-20 against New Orleans, 29-28 extreme backdoor primetime against the Falcons, and last week a 3-point loss to Carolina. This is where it flips. Going into their road calendar, and this is an incredible stat, this is the 6th road game this year out of division for the Bucs. They've been an underdog in all 5. Why? Houston, Seattle, Detroit, Buffalo, and the Rams. The combined point differential for the 5 teams the Bucs have played road out of the division is plus 574. Mike and I were saying before the show, that has to be like top 5 all time in terms of a 5-game window on the road, in terms of opponents' combined point differential. That is like A+ degree of difficulty. This is where it flips. Miami at home, underperforming, caught the same number last week, plus 4.5, and lost by margin to the Bengals. You're getting a rookie quarterback in his 2nd career start, and you're truly getting a last day on earth environment for Tampa. They can't lose today. And if they win today, assuming Carolina loses, they can win the division and go to the playoffs next week at home. It's an all boxes check spot. It's an incredible buy low. It's an environmental shift. It's the first time all year they're favored outside of the division on the road. This is going to be a double-digit win, contrary to everything you're probably hearing about this game. You heard it here. You heard it here first. The buy hat is engaged. Take the Bucks at -4.5. That's 30 minutes, and we have a break before the 4 o'clock slate.
Yeah, last point. This is an absolute must-win spot for the Bucks if they want to be playing for the division. I dropped that comment in the chat there. They've got the Panthers on deck next week, but must-win for the division out there. They should put boot to ass, and we're going to do that for you guys here with these best bets at the end of the show, so make sure you stay tuned. We got 3 more games to drop to, but the most important thing to do for us, show some support, show some love, smash that thumbs up button. If you haven't done so already, it only takes you a second, and while I'm on a second, take a second to go watch the incentive prop video that was put out there the other day on the Sports Money Network. Broke down all the player props, or most of the player props, for the rest of the season for some of these key games, key personnel, good prop opportunities if you're into that. But take a second if you haven't done so. Smash that thumbs up button for us.
4 o'clock slate. Only 2 games at 4 o'clock this afternoon. One at 4:05, one big dog game at 4:25. Here's the 4:05 game. Can't really call it a big dog game. This is battle for the number 1 pick. 2-13 Giants, 2-13 Raiders. Giants are 0-8 straight up on the road. The Raiders are 1-6 at home. Neither team is a bye team. Neither team wants to win. But, Mike, we were saying it before. Can't you just see the headlines in New York tomorrow? Giants go to Vegas and beat the Raiders to screw up the number 1 overall pick. I think the Giants win this game. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. 53% of the bets, 54% of the cash. So it's coin flippy, but this line has moved and we're seeing 3s out there in the marketplace now. So that's one of the reasons to tune in here is catch that late breaking information and how that cash is moving out there. And guess what just happened? 40.5 just moved to 41. Just now, 3 seconds ago, 5 seconds ago, 6 seconds ago, 47% of the bets, 51% of the cash. Some money coming in on the over. I'll tell you, Shark and I were talking backstage about this game. He said, what do you think? And I said, I would save my money and dump it all on this next game out there. But NFC road favorites are 51-18. If you look at this thing over the long stretch here, get it. Totally makes sense. And, we've got a unique situation here because you've got week 16 and on. So, end of the season. Teams that are bad, under 20% win rates, are a perfect 6-0 to the under. This just feels like one of those games to me. I said this last night. Everything on surface said that Ravens game should go under, except for me. And I said that game's going over. It went way over the number. I mean, we were good at 68 points at one point as one of those live totals that's out there. I'm going to go with the over in this game as well. 40.5 are the best number you can lock in right now. It's crazy. I don't know where the points are going to come from, but everything tells me this game should be under. And yet here we go. 2 bad teams with, fledgling defenses out there. Yeah, 14. I see a ton of trends for the under, but I got to fade this thing. I got to turn the plane into the storm. I got to embrace the turbulence and take the over in this game out there. And I'm going to hope, by the way, that the Raiders put 33 points on the board. How about that?
I think it's certainly possible. And even going through the schedule, Jackson Dart on the road has been actually explosive versus the total. I mean, go back through the last handful of games here at Denver, I think being pretty noteworthy. That's a good Denver defense. He lit them up for 32 points, 65 total, 33-32. Stayed on the road at Philadelphia. It's a Philadelphia team that doesn't score aggressively in situational spots. 38-20, 24-20 at Chicago, 34-27. That was Jameis Winston overtime at Detroit. And the last Jackson Dart road start 33-15 over at New England. I agree. And I think it goes along with the lines of what we've been talking about here for the better part of 35 minutes. These games where nobody really cares, the defense is not playing like Super Bowl final stand defense. Right. Really, it's like kind of open season schoolyard ball. And Jackson Dart plays an explosive style. Geno Smith has absolutely nothing to lose. I mean, he's going to be chucking it around the yard. He's going to have a couple turnovers, which will probably give the Giants good field position. I agree. I think the over is in play. I do think the Giants are the best look. I am not officially on this because, truthfully, it's just such a disaster of a game, and neither team really wants to win. But I do think if you guys want to bet this game, I do think the Giants will win this game. Last game on the afternoon card, 4:25 in Buffalo, Eagles at Bills. This is by far the biggest game within this window, clearly, and it is bringing intrigue to the conversation. Mike, I know you're an Eagles fan, but you also live in the Buffalo area. I feel like, you kind of got cut down the middle this morning and just had to pick a side here. You do like the road team. We opened with a little disagreement. I have a little disagreement. However, Mike, liking +2.5.
Yeah, we're now seeing threes. Literally, this line has moved as well. So now seeing a 3 out there in the market, 52% of the bets, 52% of the cash are on the Philadelphia Eagles. And look, it's an unseasonable game in Western New York out there. Probably going to be some snow on the ground, only a matter because of the geography here, but it should be reasonable. Should be maybe even see a little rain out there in this game. Not so much some snow, but total's kind of coming down here. 46.5 have moved to 44.5, 59% of the bets, 75% of the cash are buying into points in this game. And, it's funny. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking, and I was on the Fade Eagles train. I was on last week. I gave you guys the Browns, one of the best bets out there, 10.5 points. Man, they almost won the game outright. It was a terrible schedule spot for the Buffalo Bills because this game was on deck, and I had arguments telling me this game doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. This isn't a divisional game. Bullshit. This is a measuring stick, Shark. You put yourself you want to measure up and see how you're going to go for the playoffs. There's all this talk right now for the AFC saying the Bills have to go out there now. There's no Patrick Mahomes. There's no Lamar Jackson. There's no Joe Burrow. Who's left? Well, Drake May's left. He might have something to say about that, even though he's a rookie or in a primary initial playoff experience situation for him. But you still got to sack up. You still have to go out there and say, best on best. Show us what you got. The Eagles are defending Super Bowl champions. And can the Bills keep themselves in contention? Now, it's running game versus running game, in my opinion, out there. Saquon Barkley, one of the most popular guys to get a touchdown this week. He's found his groove out there. James Cook, that guy's obviously a threat. He can go out there and score. I mean, look at these price tags on these touchdowns here. James Cook, -110. Josh Allen, +110. Saquon Barkley, +110. Jalen Hurts, +140. They're expecting this to be a ground control game. The total coming down like that does kind of indicate that to me as well. But I'm not going to do it. This isn't a split down the middle situation here. This is a Buffalo Bills can't seem to find a way to beat Jalen Hurts. The only quarterback or the only team the Bills have not beaten in the Josh Allen era, the Buffalo Bills as well here. I think the Bills go on the road. They smack these boys in the mouth. They give them that reality check that says, hey, get ready for the playoffs, boys. It's going to be a battle out there. And that's what the Bills are going to need. They're going to need to take that on the chin. They snuck through last week. They'll find this Eagles team. They'll see if they can't find a way to match up here. But I think it's a low scoring game. I think we got a situation. +3 is a great spot, but wrong team's favorite here. The Eagles are going to go beat them up.
I disagree. And I love disagreement, particularly with Mike, because Mike and I have so much respect. We can definitely mess around and have a good time. The buy hat is engaged. And Mike, truly, what you're saying there, I don't disagree with. And something we always kind of center on here is it's pro football. They play once a week. Clearly, there's motivation on both sides of the game. I get it. But I do think that this is a flat spot for the Eagles. They clinched the division. They have slight mobility maybe in the playoff race, not much. This, for me, is Sirianni, what you've seen from time to time with this team. When they know they don't really need it, they do kind of pull their foot off the gas. They've shown an inability to score on the road this year. Truthfully, they just have these black hole games. And I think if you actually look at the line, I think the line does lean heavily towards Buffalo. This is the third road game this year for the Eagles at an AFC opponent. They were favored in both. They were favored at Kansas City early season in a Super Bowl rematch. We backed Philadelphia as a road favorite because I felt the strength in that environment. I also backed them as a favorite at the Chargers Monday Night Football Week 14 loss, but 5 turnovers in the game. First time as a dog in this environment. I think Buffalo just needs the game more, if I'm being perfectly honest. They need it for the playoffs. They can possibly backdoor the division. They need it for seeding in the AFC playoffs. And final point on this, these teams did play 2 years ago in Philadelphia. Philadelphia beat the Bills by 3 points in overtime. The Bills had a huge lead in that game, huge. And Philadelphia came back in the fourth quarter with 17 points. A lot of moving parts in pro football, clearly. Not so much on these teams. Same quarterback, same running back, same coaches. Buffalo's going to remember that. The line shifts. Mike, we'll circle back at 7 o'clock and see who wins. I like the Bills at minus. I dropped -1 on X. It's getting steamed. Mike, just talk about that for a second. What's going on with the line movement here, do you think?
I think the public's coming in there and being foolish. I think at this point of the game here, we're seeing, the steam seems to come in overnight. And I think what happens is we're getting closer to game time, an hour before kickoff, is they're saying, oh, the Bills must win this game. And they're getting them at -1, -2, -3. That's what I think's happening in this spot here. But again, time will tell. That will be the greatest determination will be 7 p.m. and seeing who came out on the right side of this one here. But I think this late movement has a lot to do with the, public coming in there saying, yeah, give me the Bills. They're not going to lose this game.
Yeah, no, I can see it. And just one final point on this. If you go back through the last handful of wins the Eagles have had, you got to go back to week 7. They beat Minnesota. Minnesota had a backup quarterback. They beat the Giants with a backup quarterback. They beat Green Bay, who has looked pedestrian, just got hammered last night in prime time. There's only 2 games over 500. They beat the Lions in a game that the Eagles only scored 16 points in the game, and the Lions were just falling apart day by day throughout the season. And then they beat Las Vegas with Kenny Pickett, who's absolutely terrible. And last week they beat Washington with a backup quarterback. So you get 4 backup quarterbacks and 2 wins against the NFC North, where the Eagles only scored a combined 26 points. I got to say, Mike, I wish I was up there in New York to drink with you and feel the fandom on this one, because I'm just not seeing it. Well,
I'll tell you, listen, last thought on that there in my side of things here is looking at this Eagles saying historically terrible strength of schedule has been one of the toughest in the history of a defending Super Bowl champion. They also had five short rest preparation games out there. So keep that in consideration as we look at who they've played. Toughest strength of schedule from a defensive perspective. No team in history has had 5 short week preparation games out there, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles as defending Super Bowl champs. So we'll see.
Great conversation there. We will see what happens. Mike is on, I guess, now you can drop +3 officially because the entire market's on +3. I have dropped -1. Everybody who betted overnight, -3 now. We'll see. Let's dominate. Yeah. Final game on the card, going late night. That is not so late out west. 8:20 Eastern, 5:20 Pacific, Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. Niners-Bears. This is another game. You talk about some of these games being projected, particularly the Christmas Day games, to be great, turning out terribly. This is one I would have said is probably not going to be so marquee. Here we are. It is. This is a battle for top seeding in the NFC. This is a great Niners team. This is a Bears team that has been incredibly, incredibly fortunate in certain environments, certainly opportunistic in others. I honestly don't have a read in this game just yet. Mike, what are your thoughts?
So you talk about the August 1st situation, going back at it and looking and saying, what happened to the NFC North? Did they just, this complete implosion? I mean, 3 weeks ago, I'm sitting around talking to some friends, man, every NFC North team's going to make the playoffs. And all of a sudden, Green Bay's going to be a free square for anybody that's playing against them in the playoffs. They're so sharp and soft. We saw how they just couldn't get it done last night. And here come the Bears trotting around that NFC North. They took down they're just dismantling teams here. But on the other side of things, this 49ers squad got hot. They found a way to get through with Mac Jones. We talked about that a week ago out there. And yet here they are now with Brock Purdy in the realm. They're winning games. They're stacking W's. That's going to be important as I reference a trend to you guys in a minute. 3.5s have not moved. Surprisingly, 64% of the bets, 58% of the cash are on the Bears, the road dog, public road dog. And yet it's not moving out there. 46.5 has moved, though. 52.5. 52.5 with these boys out there. I'll tell you, there's a couple props I really like. One of the best props, I think, is Caleb Williams to throw an interception. Probably parlay that with Brock Purdy to throw an interception. That's going to be some really great plus money opportunity. But Sunday night, we're in store for a doozy. We'll be live streaming for this game here, but live from Levi's Stadium is going to be a battle of who can turn the ball over less, how I see this game going. That's how they get to the total. I can't see a dominant run game from one side versus the other. Bears are a little banged up offensively, wide receiver wise out there, so they're going to have to put the ball on the ground, but I think the turnovers will make this a short field game out there. Bottom line, fade the Bears week 17 with a total greater than 44.5. That's the spot. You fade the Bears, you're 11-1 in those situations. Night games with a favorite that's on a 5 or more game winning streak. Night game, favorite, 5 or more game winning streak. Perfect 12-0 out there. I'm going to lay the 3.5 with these San Francisco 49ers. Sunday night football at its finest here. Should be a lot of fun to watch this game, but I'll lay the 3.5. Lay that 3.5 and take them 49ers. Feel good about it.
I completely agree. Actually, I'm just looking at it as you're speaking here. I think this is a Niners spot. I'll drop it officially now. Absolutely. We're getting 3.5 in the market now. Mike, another syndicate pounding the dog here. I think the syndicates really have just come in on all these small numbers, the 5.5s, 4.5s, and 3.5s, and taken steam on the dog. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And I generally do disagree with syndicate action. I think it's very square and just kind of market evaluation, not actually handicapping the game. But you're giving me all the points. A couple more points. These teams have the same exact record. Let's talk point differential. The Bears are 11-4, 7 games over 500, only plus 33. That is very low. And what does that mean over the full sample here in week 17? It means they've won a ton of tight games, which reminds me of what we said about Kansas City last year. You saw how Kansas City fell apart when it mattered in the Super Bowl, losing by margin 18 points. When teams are running like this, oftentimes when it comes to a halt, they lose by margin. Mm-hmm. San Francisco 11-4 plus 72. And as you said, Chicago honestly has not been beating great teams in any capacity, particularly on the road. Go through their road calendar. We have a minute here. They lost by 31 points at Detroit. This is a division, as Mike said, that is falling apart. Detroit got them by 31. They barely beat Las Vegas, who is awful. They barely beat Washington, who has looked awful. They got hammered at Baltimore with a backup quarterback situation for Baltimore, Tyler Huntley. They barely beat Cincinnati when Cincinnati had a backup quarterback. They barely beat Minnesota, who's had a terrible quarterback situation moving around all year, 3 different guys. They beat Philadelphia, believe it or not, Mike. Shout out to the Birds playing some great ball. And they lost to Green Bay by 7. So the point is, again, how many backup quarterbacks and teams that are just over the course of this season falling apart? So I think this really is kind of just the end of the road, at least in this small window within the regular season for the Bears. Of course, they're going to go to the playoffs. They're going to win the division. They're going to host a playoff game. It will be crazy live January at Soldier Field on the water there, Lake Michigan. I see you guys in Chicago. We love you guys in Chicago. I'll say it again. Handicapping sports, eliminate emotion, find objectivity. Mike, I'm with you. Take the Niners at minus 3.5. That's 47 minutes approaching 48. And we have week 17 best bets. Sundays are for the Sharps. NFL The Betting Blitz. The Shark and Mikey Money. Week 17. Mike, best bets.
I got to roll down the line with you guys here. I got the New Orleans Saints. Give me that money line minus 120. Seemed like a good number out there. I'm going to take that Cleveland plus 4.5. I like that spot quite a bit there. The Jets plus 13.5. And I'm going San Francisco. Give me that minus 3.5. And we've got some head-to-head spots out there, so I'm not going to give those as best bets, but you guys know the side of the coin that I fancy in those spots out there. Saints, Cleveland plus 4.5, Jets plus 13.5, and I'll lay the 3.5 for Sunday Night Football with San Francisco.
Okay, I'll give you guys a couple totals. We're going over Jags Colts, 48.5. We're going over Cincinnati, Arizona, 53. And I will give you guys Tampa Bay minus 4.5. Mike, I love that late night play. That's a collaboration play. And we could just make it 7 and the collab.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so seven best bets. Actually, I feel kind of stupid not giving you guys another one. Let me find another one here. Hold on. Let's roll with Jacksonville. So my 4 will be the over in the Jacksonville game. Jacksonville minus 4.5, Tampa Bay minus 4.5, and Arizona Cincy over 53. That's approaching 50 minutes. Mike said the fastest 50 minutes in the NFL. We don't lie. We love to do it. We appreciate you guys in the chat hanging out with us. For those of you guys who comment, we love the energy. Those of you guys who are hanging out in your life and don't have the time to comment, we'll see you guys too. Mike, give them some words, and I'll close it out.
Appreciate everybody rocking with us. Make sure you do smash that thumbs up button. Like, subscribe. If you're watching us on X, move on over to the Sports Money channel. Check us out there 7 days a week, bringing you guys sports bets, live shows, best bets, you name it. It's the betting capital of YouTube out there. And you can find the player prop incentives here to get yourselves dialed in for player prop betting. We put that show together earlier this week. It's a quick 15, 16 minutes or so. breaking down the games with the incentives, giving you guys the price tags. You can see how those cash flow has moved as well. But on behalf of the Sports Money crew, my guy, the Shark, man, what a fun 50 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll be back for week 18. Shark, appreciate you, my dude.
Absolutely. It really is a pleasure to get out here. It really is a high energy environment. And we appreciate you guys in the chat, as I always say. We see you guys in the chat. If you're feeling great, continue to feel great. If you're not feeling great, try to get a nice workout, take a walk, be responsible with your money so you can live to see another day. One of the things that we try to talk about every single week, sports betting is 365. You never want to lose one day and not be able to come back to see the law of averages scale back up to our expectancy right around 60%. We gave you 8 top plays. We appreciate you guys. Drop comments on YouTube and X and repost. It helps to spread this content into the internet. Have a great day. It is an opportunity to dominate. That is NFL The Betting Blitz, week 17 for Mike. I am the Shark. Stay fast, stay strong, stay disciplined, and let's dominate.